Greetings, and welcome to Channel Otherdoc. I'm Jim, I use he, him pronouns, and this is the premiere of our campaign of Don't Rest Your Head, a game by Fred Hicks of Evil Hat Productions. This is a supernatural horror game in which nightmares come to life to plague the insomniac PCs who are hoping to avoid them. It has been some time since I have had this game on this stream. It's been a couple of years. I've been doing some games in the meantime, off stream, but I'm very excited to bring it back. I am also terrified because of the way in which I'm bringing it back. This is one of two campaigns I'm going to be running in parallel that will have connections to each other. So, yeah, it's like, yeah, why don't you rest now that Invisible Sun is done? Sure, let's do that! Let's rest! This is what it looks like when I rest. Okay, folks. But, thank you for joining us on this strange journey. We're going to go around and say hi to everybody and find out who they are and who they're going to be playing. This is going to be a session 0, so it's we're going to be doing a lot of world building and such this session. So basically, we're going to be answering a lot of questions and figuring things out. And that's going to be most of what we're doing today. But as we go around, I'm going to, since we don't know a lot about all of our characters yet, we can, what we can do, so I'm going to ask who you are, and if you want, you can give the name of the name of the character you're playing, and then I'm also going to ask if you have a favorite piece of supernatural horror media, any medium. It doesn't actually even have to be your favorite. It can just be one that you don't hate, that you happen to think of in this moment. And let's go around by starting with our Don't Rest Your Head returning champion, Alyssa. Hello.
Hello. I am your friendly virtual weaver of yarns and teller of tall tales. You can find me on the internet at Shawl Tales. And tonight I am reprising my role of Lila Mendelsohn from The Art of Insomnia a couple of years ago. My favorite supernatural horror type media at the moment is The Sandman.
When I was, I watched the Sandman series that came out recently, and I thought to myself, hey, this is reminding me of the same things that inspired me when I was running this game before. So this is good. Same kinds of things anyway. But now let us go over to a new face on the channel, Ben. Hello.
Shalom. I am Ben. I go by the Reverend Benjamin Powers on the social medias. I've done some TTRPG stuff, streaming before for other channels. You can find me on the Bird app at rev_ben_powers. And my hands down, everything from the old Victorian and Gothic spooky stuff to more modern things. I am a sucker for a great ghost story.
Excellent. And now let's head over to another new face on the channel, Olivia. Hello.
Hey, y'all. I am Olivia. I'm new to Jim's channel, but have been playing TTRPGs for a while, especially over at Material Components, which is a podcast. I am going to be playing Dawson on this little campaign, and I love like all creature features in horror. I mean, I love horror in general, but like, give me a good weird werewolf transformation. Mwah, beautiful. I love it.
Did you happen to see the what I assume was a very popular piece of homage werewolf stuff that came out recently on from the Disney people?
I have not seen that yet, but I've heard good things, and I'm like, yeah. Again, I love a werewolf, so I'll probably like it.
I feel as though you might like it. You might like it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different from the way people have been doing werewolves recently, but it is a callback to the way that one of the ways that it was done a while ago.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
It does.
But now let us head over to Sara. Hello.
Hello, I am Sara. You can find me on Twitter at Sara of Swords. I am going to be playing Isabel Grant on this program here. And my favorite piece of horror media, I love haunted houses. So it's a toss-up between the Haunting of Hill House TV show and The Family Plot, and it's a book by Sherry Priest. And so both of those are really good ghost stories and haunted houses. Yeah.
Excellent. As for me, I think one of my favorite. I can't really pick a favorite per se, but I think the something that really is up there for me are basically a lot of the old silent films. I am a sucker for Nosferatu and the Cabinet of Caligari and Dr. Caligari and Phantom Carriage, things like that. Because I am a fan of some of the old cinema in that way, and so it's just sort of neat seeing kind of what they did with that, and because they're continuously trying to stretch the boundaries of things. But as far as all of this goes, what is this? This is a thing well, I'll talk about what all this is in a moment. But just as a reminder, like we do with the other games on this channel, we're going to be using the X card, the N card, and the O card. So if we hit something that's crossing a line for one of us, any of us can type an X in the Zoom video chat or anywhere else, hold up a card, make an X symbol, and we'll back up and do something else. If something happens that we're okay having in the game, but we don't want a graphic description of it, we can type an N in the Zoom chat, and we'll fade to black on it or put it behind a veil. So it'll be there, but we won't go into detail. Finally, if we're exploring a topic or an area of roleplay that's particularly intense for us, but we want to keep going anyway, we can put an O in the chat to let us know we're okay and that we're all good to keep piling on the drama. Something else we can do is put an O with a question mark after it when we're moving into a difficult topic, or we say or we do something and then think, maybe that might have been a little too much. Then, of course, we can... everyone else can respond to that with an X, an N, or an O to let us know if we're still doing okay. We're also using the pause. If any of us needs to take some time, we can ask for a pause in the game while we discuss things, or just take a break for as long as anyone needs. As a reminder, just a few content warnings. This game has the potential for discussions of physical and mental debilitation, insomnia, death, law enforcement, nightmares, body horror, being stalked and chased by supernatural beings, and other horrific themes. The game has mechanics related to states arising from sleep deprivation, referred to in-game as exhaustion, madness, scars, and fight-or-flight responses, but places the expression of those states squarely in the hands of the players. And if you want to see that at any point, that's going to be showing up periodically in the chat. You can also summon it by typing DRYHCW, and that will show up there. So that is available. Also, just please remember that we have an open door policy, which means that any of us and any of you can feel free to step away from this at any time if we need to. It's just a game, and mental health is always more important. But now, let's tackle what this is. What is this? So, Don't Rest Your Head is a game about nightmares. It's a game about insomniacs who have achieved abilities that they cannot normally achieve because they're just so darn tired that these things have suddenly come to them. You ever stay up for so late that you can see things And sometimes, it's like you can see the nightmares during the day. And the thing is that the nightmares can also see you. They're aware of that. And they want to draw you into their power plays and the various things that they're doing. Or they may just want to come and get you. It varies depending on, from nightmare to nightmare. So, the nightmares also have a place where they live called the Mad City. If you've been up long enough, awake long enough, you can see doorways into the Mad City, different openings that lead there. Doors that shouldn't be there, windows that shouldn't be there, manhole covers, who knows? And once you get there, well, let's just say you'll know it. In the meantime, though, we have a great deal of... we're going to be doing Session 0 stuff today. We're going to be just sort of looking at our characters, talking about them, and I'm going to attempt to write some things down for a while, and then probably give up lazily and just decide to go back and watch the video, as is my wont. But we'll see how this goes.
Fair.
Yeah, these things happen. Also, from time to time, you may see me. As the timing of this has been rather strange, so you may see me occasionally grabbing this piece of void and eating from it from time to time, as the dining experience has not yet occurred for me in this reality, and you can slowly see pieces of it reveal itself as we. as more of its skin goes away. Anyway, enough about that. Let's dig into this here. I think that something that what we'll need to just sort of do. What we'll do is we'll take the character pieces, character questions, character bits. We're going to go around for each one, and we'll talk about our answers. I may ask follow-up questions. Everyone else here also is welcome to ask follow-up questions. You may participate in this process. Because goodness knows I will need moments during which I can sip my tea. So we're going to go ahead and... we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to be going in our typical order. Let me see. What do I want to play with? We don't use this soundtrack as often. Let me see if it's well, hang on. Is that a long one or a short one? That's probably a shorter one. I'm going to go ahead and press play on it just for a moment to see what it sounds like, and then abruptly turn it off. That's a little too portentous right now. We don't need that right now. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm just going to leave that alone for now. We can play with stuff later.
Isn't used enough in casual conversation, so plus 10 points for that.
Portent is portent is important. But at the same time, like, you only want so many omens before you actually get into the game itself. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Actually, we could have any number of omens, really, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay. So we're gonna start with Lila. So first off, just in general, Alyssa, can you tell us a little bit about Lila?
In general, Lila is a singer-songwriter who quit her job in customer service a couple of years ago in order to go into full-time content creation. In a moment of perhaps temporary insanity. What else do you want to know?
This is fair. I think I think in some ways I was debating with myself whether or not we would talk about the stuff that happened in the last in the first campaign that folks might have seen on this channel, or in the campaign that happened in between, where Lila appeared. And I think it's going to be more fun if we just sort of keep it vaguely in the past for now, and see what
Yes.
emerges as.
Suffice it to say,
yeah.
she has been to the Mad City twice already.
Yes.
So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Let me just. I have to type a thing real quick. Because I must. And so I think what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and go into these questions.
Oh, that means I have to
pull
those up.
Yes. It means I have to see what's happening here. So for Lila, so you have had to answer this question more than once before, and
Yes.
I am asking you again. What's keeping you awake this time?
It's usually deadlines, but this time I'm going to say it's excitement.
What are we excited about?
Well, this might also answer the next question. She recently reconnected with someone from her creative endeavors in the past, and she is going to visit them in the near future. Or so she thinks.
Yes. Apparently, yes. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna leave it. We're gonna circle around. We're going to head over to Ben for Jason. Can you tell us a little bit about Jason, just as an intro?
So if this were the 1700s, Jason would be the equivalent of the poor lost playwright that is suffering in an alley somewhere in a tenement. He is a 30-something, very creative type who never really applied himself. He loves performing, loves writing, but he's never been able to make the leap. To actually try to make something with these creative things. Instead, he's a retail wage slave living in a studio apartment. But he recently moved out of his parents' house to live in. So
cool. And what's been keeping you awake?
Anxiety, racing thoughts. Stories that he's kind of immersing himself in to not have to really focus on what's going on around him. But mostly it's the fact he just can't shut his brain up. In the middle of the night, it just keeps running, just random stuff.
Yeah, this is intensely relatable.
Yes, it is.
And now we're going to swing over to Olivia. Tell us a little bit about Dawson.
Dawson. First of all, all these artist types. Dawson is actually Ada Dawson, though she goes by her last name, and is a mathematics PhD student, and also the child of a renowned mathematician, which segues pretty easily into what's keeping me awake. He, during the last couple years of his life, he had some what is potentially a mental break and retreated from academia. And after he eventually died, she found what was left of his notes. And instead of like the ravings of a madman, which is kind of what she expected to find, she found what seems like a mathematic theory that proves the existence of a world on top of our own. And she has been attempting to piece together like these kind of scrambled, hurried notes into something that actually represents like a true mathematic theory. And has found that staying awake all the time and starting to see things is like maybe unlocking some creative potential in her brain that she's never experienced before. Yeah.
Yes, and actually, and so this is, I presume this is the answer also to the question of what is keeping you awake.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. Good. These things happen.
Yeah, you know.
From time to time, also, just so folks will be aware, because I've got this is as often happens with premieres. I have 9 million things happening in front of me, so I may occasionally, and being a creature of ADHD that I am, I may occasionally have to zone back in and be like, would you mind repeating something for me? So I may ask. I may at some point ask for. I may miss one or two things. I may ask folks to repeat things just a bit at some point in the near future. Just wanted to mention that real quick, as I see that I haven't written a word as of yet on my spreadsheet. So we're going the review the video later route. In the meantime. Let's move over to Sara. Tell us a little bit about Isabel.
Isabel she's 19 and taking a gap year between high school and college, has been accepted into an honors program, and she intends to be pre-law for that. But she is a very spoiled, very rich kid who's just partying around the world on her parents' dime at this point. And with some of her friends who are doing the same thing.
Ah, nice. Excellent. We enjoy interrupting young friends' lives with terrible, tragic, nightmarish things. Not to say that any of that's going to happen. Certainly, I'm sure everything's going to be fine.
Of course not.
Yeah, but
everything's going to be totally fine.
I'm sure there hasn't been signs of any problems. But let me just ask, what's been keeping you awake?
Stimulants, actually. She has a bit of a drug problem and is currently on a stimulant kick. And so she is being artificially kept awake by those.
Excellent. Good. Very cool. All right. Swinging back around to Alyssa, we're going to go to our next question.
Hey.
So the question is phrased in the rules. Those of us who are following along, if we will turn on our hymnals to page 11, it says, "What just happened to you?" Now, this is the most debated question usually in any game that I usually run, because there is a question of timing. The way that I interpret it typically is, what thing has happened to you recently that has kind of helped to kick your brain into a slightly higher octave, perhaps, or lower octave, depending on how you want to interpret it, that basically is it's after this point things are weirder. The thing itself doesn't have to be a supernatural event. It's just anything that's exciting or stressful.
Well, I mean, she is planning a trip. So that's a bit of both.
Did anything happen while you were planning a trip that particularly heightened this awareness of things? Or perhaps reminded you of things in your case?
I might actually borrow from real life. She found a piece of junk mail with an advertisement that said "Mad City Exteriors."
Oh dear, that's not good. And actually, I remember. Actually, I think you took a shot of that and sent that to me, didn't you? Yes, I saw that. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, so maybe she's vibrating with panic.
It's entirely possible. Yeah, you're gonna start seeing signs of things that will start manifesting, and it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm curious. Are you trying to? Are we trying to bury things, or are we, as far as thinking about it, or are we? How do we feel? How do we feel about our recent, or perhaps not terribly recent, history of wandering off into another dimension?
I think this time, well, she kind of started to embrace it last time, so I think this time she's just, keeping an ear out, trying to be aware, and watching for those whatever doors may present themselves.
Yes,
because she's just kind of she's just vibing.
Yeah, you gotta go with the flow sometimes.
Yeah.
Even if that flow is possibly over rocks or possibly a waterfall,
it's gonna happen whether she likes it or not. So she might as well just lean into it.
Why paddle upstream? Why? All right. So, for Jason, what has happened to you? What just happened to you?
Jason has had a very bad day. He just got home from work, where it was a bad day at work. He has checked some of his social media. It was a bad day on social media. He has found himself retreating to negative thoughts, and he just got done having a conversation with himself in his bathroom mirror. And I mean that literally, he was contemplating some things that have been a cycle in the past, and when he caught his reflection in the mirror, it proceeded to berate him loudly and with a great amount of vitriol, and he kind of fled from it and decided that he needed to go get help. So he grabbed a notebook and a pen, and he raced to the bus stop to get to to take himself to the emergency room.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk a little bit more about some of the specifics here as we workshop this, as to the precise conveyance that we are on and where we are headed. But it's that is definitely a thing that has happened recently. So let us.
Within the last hour, in fact.
It's happened recently. Well, like I said, we'll work out the I'm going to get to some questions that will help us refine the logistics as we get in. We'll know for certain. But let us go ahead and head back over to Olivia for Dawson. What's happened to you?
Yeah. I think that the like months and months of sleep deprivation, like weirdly enough, has taken a toll on Dawson's like personal and professional life. Weird. Um, and she was called into like a meeting with her, that the head of her department, um, about just like, hey, what's going on with you? And it devolved into an argument. And then, like within 1 second in the next, she it's not a blackout. It's just like time dilated. And all of a sudden, her boss's office was a complete mess. There was a fire, and her boss was gone, and she had no idea what was happening. So now she's out of a job. She's been kicked out of university. She's lost all of her grant funding. All of her colleagues think she's insane. And she's probably going to be chased, like facing some charges for arson. um, she's like insistent that she didn't set the fire. She's like pretty sure it's the things that she can see out of the corner of her eyes all the time now. But, who knows?
Of course, of course. Okay, and for Sara, what happened to Isabel recently?
She got back from Europe a couple of days ago, and so she's really, really jet lagged. And her in kind of a celebration of, hey, you're back, kind of a thing. Her girlfriend Paige overdosed, and so she's in the hospital recovering from that, and Isabel is going to visit her.
Okay. All right. I'm probably going to, in a moment, ask about more details about your girlfriend, possibly. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna keep on with the questions, but let me come back to that in a little bit. So we're gonna go back around. For Lila, what's on the surface? What are the first impressions that the character gives off? What's obvious about Lila?
She looks kind of nerdy and artistic, calm and collected, always put together, as people like to say.
Yes, good. Okay, so this is what everybody sees. I always have to decide, do I want to answer both things, have both of these questions come out in sequence, or do I just want to do one at a time for this one, because the next one speaks to it somewhat, but yeah, let's do it that way today. So also for Lila, tell us what lies beneath. What's the part of the world that she doesn't show? Part of herself she doesn't show to the world.
Is kind of socially anxious, but loves to perform for an audience. Although lately she's a little less shy of confrontation than she has been in the past.
It's absolutely fair. Absolutely fair. Okay. There's something else here I feel like we can get at, but I'm not. I don't quite have the shape of it yet, so we're gonna move on, and we'll come back to it later.
Okay.
We'll always come back to these things. They'll turn up. Oh, they'll turn up. Let's head back over to Ben. For Jason, what's on the surface? What does everybody see?
Jason is very quirky but affable. He tends to dress in beat up suit jackets and sardonic black t-shirts. He's got the sunken eyes slightly of someone that never sleeps, but he's got a very infectious, easy smile. His eyes are very expressive, and overall seems like a nice guy, but kind of quirky, kind of weird.
Excellent. And what lies beneath? What's the part that you don't show to the world if you can help it?
Crippling self-doubt, mostly. He has discovered that people react well to his stories, his performances, and that kind of fills the aching void where self-worth should live. He throws himself into it, and when he doesn't get it, he crashes even more. That also means that he tends to be very empathetic, very caring with his friends, though whether that is a genuine social love or the need to feel useful is kind of, even he doesn't know. He does have a difficult problem setting healthy boundaries where, if somebody needs something, he will go without sleep. He'll bend over backwards to help them, sometimes to his detriment. And then eventually everything kind of catches up and he kind of crashes down again. But overall, he's got tons of self-confidence, not very much self-esteem. And that's pretty much the main thing. He's the smiling, sad clown, basically.
Yeah.
No, he is an artist.
Excuse me, but art is pain.
I say that only because I've literally met playwrights like that. I'm not going to name names, but it's awesome.
This is not autobiographical at all, by the way. I am not tapping into real life history, thought process. This is just, I'm not projecting.
Yeah.
That's not what this is.
I should point out that this is a thing that has a tendency to gather around these games, or at least the ones that I've been running, is that a lot of times artistic character concepts seem to drift toward it rather like lemmings toward the edge of a cliff. It's just given that we ended up titling the previous series on this channel "The Art of Insomnia" because everyone was basically, a lot of it was the horrors of trying to make a living as an artist. It just sort of went there. This is a thing that happens. But Olivia, for Dawson, what is on the surface?
I think the thing I kept returning to was her nails are just completely destroyed, like that, nails bitten, kind of unkempt. She's very mousy. It's not like she comes across as kind of a neurotic, which isn't unheard of in an academic sphere. She's kind of got the absent-minded professor thing going. The absent-minded professor. English. I can speak it, I promise. Just not all the time. I think it's definitely gotten worse, the kind of scatteredness over the past year, but she's always been kind of a little daisy.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. What can you remind us briefly what she's what her subject is again?
Mathematics.
Mathematics.
Which is the same, um, discipline as her late father as well.
Yes. Okay. 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 Excellent. All right. And what lies beneath?
I think she's really angry. She has this like huge. Reason I brought up this that it's the same discipline is like I think she has this huge chip on her shoulder about, um, you know, being in the shadow of this larger than life kind of figure in her academic field, and I think like not ever quite measuring up to that. And I think she's uh more like more impulsive and more like ready to break things than like her kind of mousy quiet, ditzy, or not ditzy, but just like, intellectual kind of exterior. She's like, that's not really her. That's just like what she thought she had to be because that was what her father was like.
Oh, yeah.
I promise I'm not projecting either.
That's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's gonna be fine.
This game is just going to degenerate into like some weird group therapy session.
Oh no!
And I'm here for it.
It's entirely possible. It's funny. One of the one shot scenarios I did. One of the first one shot scenarios I did was everyone was in the premise was everyone was in a group therapy session for all the characters were PCs were for insomnia. But and then a red door appeared that the therapist vanished through, and things got weird. But let's head over again to Sara for Isabel. What's on the surface?
She goes out of her way to be very put together, like with her outfits and her makeup every day. And she goes out of her way to kind of look like she has her shit together. And her parents are extremely rich. They are like corporate lawyers. And so, she, has the most on point fashionable clothes. She's got the car and everything else. So she looks the part, and it plays the part really well of, all I want you to see is what I am painting on every day.
Yes. And what lies beneath?
She's actually really smart. She's been accepted into the honors program at the university she is going to attend in the fall. But it's not cool amongst her friends to be smart, so she doesn't show that a lot. She applies herself at school, but doesn't really go out of her way to talk about how her intelligence or share that with her friends or anybody else. She really just wants everybody to see the surface and not beneath it, because she thinks the surface character she's projecting is a lot cooler than her real self.
Okay.
I promise I'm not projecting either.
It's very fair. Okay, well, we're back around to Alyssa. And the last, according to Hoyle, character question, which means that then we are going to enter other questions after this, is what's your path? This basically addresses the character's goals and points to how, in a vacuum, a story about them could reach their conclusion. But the main thing is what Lila wants and is trying to achieve. What's happening there?
Lila wants to she's starting to figure out that there may be some kind of pattern to these weird doors opening up, and she wants to be ready when it happens, and she wants to make sure whoever ends up getting sucked into that world makes it out, or make sure that whatever is going to come out of that door gets shoved back in where it belongs. You know, that dangerous sense of responsibility.
Ah, yes. Accursed responsibility. Yeah, it's weird. It seems like it happens like once a year.
Yeah.
Around this time of year. It's hard to say.
Mm-hmm. You know, the classic time of year when the veil between worlds is at its thinnest. You know, classic urban legends and folklore.
I'm sure it's fine.
You know, some people get sad in the winter, and some fall into an alternate dreaming dimension, and you know.
Yeah, like you do.
Yeah. I mean,
it happens.
Who hasn't? Who hasn't really?
Just do a little light therapy. It's...
Yeah. That's yeah. Yeah. Who doesn't wake up one morning and find themselves in an entirely different universe? Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I'm not projecting at all, really. But I might be.
Oh no.
You haven't been isekai'd at least once in your life?
I cannot prefer. I'm not allowed to discuss it, I'm afraid.
So that's a look.
But in any case, it's not so much I get taken away as it who am I replacing this week? Anyway, so yes, over to Ben for Jason. What is your path? What do you want? What are your goals?
It's twofold. To quote the Stone Roses, I want to be adored. That's his main focus, is to have that attention and esteem that he doesn't feel given to him from other people. You know, if he can't produce it, he'll get it from somewhere else. I also think that his general feelings of anxiety and powerlessness lead him to want to change the world. Like, he wants to know that he left a mark. He wants to know that something he did mattered, because at this stage in his life, nothing really has, you know. So he wants to change that. He wants everyone to love him, and he wants to change the world, which I think is a fairly a standard want and need of most of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me actually, I want to ask a couple more questions about this. First off, does he have a particular does he have particular things in mind that he wants to do to affect the world, or rather, maybe not even the how, but does he have like a what, like as far as like, I would like it if this were the truth about the world?
I think he would like it if people weren't assholes to each other. Like, I think that's the crux of his worldview, is he wants people to not be, you know, he wants everyone to get along, because if they're getting along, there's no conflict. If there's no conflict, there's no fear. If there's no fear, there's no worry. If there's no worry, you might be happy. Considers himself to be fairly socially conscious. He does put in every effort he can to make people feel welcome and included. He's the one that all of his friends come to when they need to talk about something. You know, he'll be the one that listens objectively. So I guess that's kind of a roundabout way of getting to the answer, is that he wants to be able to say he left a legacy of some sort. You know, he doesn't want to. His version of hell is dying without anybody remembering him. You go walking in a cemetery and you see a random stone with some person's name on it from 150 years ago, and nobody knows, you know, who it was. That's his fear. Is to have that be the case.
Okay. Good. And can you remind me what you said that he had a bad day of work? What did he do? What does he do?
He is a retail wage slave. He is a manager at an electronics store, a corporate one, and he routinely has to be the one that bears the brunt of most customer complaints. He gets talked down to on a regular basis, and so that kind of further feeds his existential angst. So when other things are stressors and other things are a problem, going to work just compounds that, because he needs to do it to make money. You can't pay your rent without money, but the way that he has to earn the money galls him, and he feels like he's got no way out. Yes. Again, not projecting at all. None of this is based in reality or past experience.
No, not at all.
This is not the cry of the millennial.
No. Yeah, at some point, doesn't have to be right this moment, but we unless we happen to have it, we're probably going to want to. We, and by we I mean me, would like to know the name of the electronics store chain, if you have one, or if you come up with one. It doesn't have to be right this second, but you know.
Comp Max America.
Comp Max America. Comp.
Actually, you know what? That's not pretend. That's not homogenized enough. I'll come up with it. I'll come up with something later. I want something that's like that. That sounds almost professional, and that's not what this is. This is where a 90-year-old person walks in and demands to know how to get on the Google. So, let me ponder this one.
No, feel free. Feel free. Yeah, I know.
If Twitch chat has ideas for this, I will happily feel them.
Yeah, feel free to throw out ideas. Feel free to throw out ideas, folks. We can't guarantee we'll use any of them, but feel free to do so. Just to amuse us, or yourselves, if you wish to amuse yourselves, that's also fine. But let's see. Okay, no, that's good. That's good. That's very good. I'm. There's a hint of an idea in the back of my head, but I need to. We need not worry about it right now.
And that's basically he throws himself into his extracurriculars after work, because that's his chance to be creative, and that's his chance to actually do something he wants to do instead of what his talents and training have led him to be good at.
Yeah. What kind of creative stuff does he like to do?
He likes to write. He got started originally running role-playing games for his friends, and then that kind of moved into, writing for different blogs, game supplements. He has a modest social media following, and by modest I mean like 100 people. That's Twitter famous where he lives, so that's like golden. He mostly done a lot of stuff online, a lot of YouTube streams. Like he's a very, very, very minor content creator, but he also does a lot of, LARP. He basically helped run a LARP for a while, and that was very gratifying. He's done dinner theater. He's really tried to do something with it, but it's never anything big. He's never been able to take the leap to do.
Yeah.
He's never risked it to make that be a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Good. Thank you. Clarity comes to me. Good. And now we're going to move on again to Olivia to tell us about what your path is. Again, what your character's goals are. Basically, what you're aiming for here.
Really quick, if I could sidebar, because something Ben said made me go, oh, yes. Is like, obviously the city slumbering is not going to be necessarily as important as the Mad City, but does it take place in any specific place?
We're going to decide.
Are we in a
that.
Big city, a small city? Okay,
that's
cool.
actually we're about to decide that in just a little bit. We're gonna after we go through the what's your path question, we're gonna get into some world building stuff, and we're gonna determine that.
Awesome.
Historically, I have done them in where the city slumbering is a real city. Usually, sometimes it's a fictional city that we create that's similar to other cities. But we'll sort of it's been kind of a city in our world type deal. In the Mad City, it's usually whatever city it is. It's referred to as the city slumbering. All cities on Earth are kind of the city slumbering, in a way.
Yeah.
But that's really the question. Because when you're in a place that has doors to virtually anywhere, sometimes
I have named the place.
Similar. Oh, you've named the place?
Future World.
Future World!
Oh, no.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what the most just goofy, stupid, modern... I was thinking GameStop, Best Buy. There's a place called the Future World. That's it.
Future World.
That's where Nana brings, her grandson to help her pick out a laptop so she can go on the internet and connect with her family through the Facebooks, and people complain about, ink pricing and overall things of that nature.
Excellent. Good. Okay.
He has to wear a neon green polo shirt with black striping, because it looks kind of like the Matrix, coding that comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna run with this. I like this.
Excellent.
This makes me happy.
I am overjoyed at this answer for reasons that will be revealed within the first few episodes, probably. But that said, that said, Olivia, what do you have any thoughts on Dawson's path?
Yeah, I mean, I think like that kind of locked in hyper focus for her of like, I have to like figure out what my father left behind. And I have to be the one to do it, because that's the only way I'll ever feel sufficient as a person. But I think like the kind of like omniscient real world, or like I guess as the player, I think her path is like either deciding to follow this obsession and like letting it consume her, or like letting it go. I just don't think, right, like that's what I think the actual path is, but I don't think she is aware that it has two prongs at this point.
Cool. I'm going to ask some clarifying questions again now, to try to plug in some brain bits that some of my brain bits fell, by the way, a little bit earlier, and I'm going to try to gather them now. So, to be clear, your character was a professor
She's like a PhD student, so she
PhD student.
probably teaches
Okay.
classes, but isn't like a.
Got it. Okay. All right. Good. Good. And so the thing with her father, I just want to make sure I'm not combining two things that shouldn't be combined here. So I'm just going to ask you to repeat for me. You said that your superior's office ended up on fire. And this was this also your father, or is your father a separate entity from this?
No, he has been deceased for like probably like a year and a half at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. That'd be too much.
It would be, wouldn't it?
You work for your dad? Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing. Okay, so sometimes an assistant teacher, basically, sort of learning to getting PhD in mathematics. Okay.
Please chat if that's not the right thing. If that's not the right degree for mathematics, then don't tell me. I'm just.
I'm sure it's possible.
Yeah.
One can figure it out, you know.
Yeah.
But
the joke is that I'm also a dumb artsy person, and so I actually don't know very much about math.
Places offer PhD degrees in mathematics, according to the Googles. So
all right.
So you're safe. You're
from the ridicule.
Yes.
Okay.
Plenty of places have PhD programs. Do you know roughly how big a university or college or whatever you are coming from here?
I think it's probably like, it's definitely not Ivy League. It's probably like a decent, but not like super exclusive.
Okay. So, yeah, decent, but not super exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. I may at some point ask you to tell me the name of the institution. You do not have to come up with it now.
Okay.
But yeah, you don't have to get it right now. But if you can get that to me sometime soonish, preferably before we play again, that would be cool. Just because it's an interesting thing, and elements may show up. We'll see. Also, yeah, this is things didn't go terribly well there recently, so there's
yeah,
we may hear things. I don't know. Cool, excellent. So, Sara, for Isabel, what is your path?
Isabel wants to clean up her act, and she believes that she can, but all of her friends are kind of self-destructive as well. So without eliminating her entire friend group right before she goes away to college, she doesn't really know how to do that. And with taking a gap year, she has, and in the way that she has, she's really not left the high school mindset behind, and would like to get rid of that and like project or embody more of a mature individual, and not go into college with any kind of high school drama following her, for the lack of a better phrase.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Excellent. I don't think I'm going to need the name of the high school or anything like that, but I might at some point soon ask about some of your friends. Are any of you actually? So one thing I can ask: are any of your friends? Are some of your friends coming on this trip with you? You said
Yes.
Okay.
Some of my friends some of my friend group went straight into college, and some of my friend group took a gap year. And those that took the gap year, we were traveling around the world together. Like we spent 2 months in Europe together and
So you spent 2 months in Europe, and you're back.
Yeah.
And still traveling.
Yeah.
All right.
Like there's a vague plan to go to Fiji in a few weeks. Yeah, I mean, it's still in the hey, let's go to Fiji stages, which is probably not where it needs to be for being a few weeks from now. But you know, they're all rich kids, so they think it's all going to work out for them.
Yes. No. I'm very delighted to hear you have plans to go to Fiji. Excellent. Good. Okay. So, I'd like to talk for a little bit and about. First off, let me just check in. Are we good to start talking about some of the world building stuff? Was there anything anyone wanted to mention that you haven't had a chance to mention about your character before we start going into the world building? I will have some follow-ups that are individual, but for right now, are we good to jump to the next thing?
Good.
Yeah.
I'd say go for it.
Okay. So we're going to be... so this is a little bit more open. We're going to be chatting in general about this. But something that I want to kind of start off with for us to nail down here is the thing that I've kept deliberately vague because I wanted us to kind of sort of sort it out here. Was what had to do with our conveyance and sort of the nature of said conveyance. I'd kind of had in my head the idea that it might be traveling from one city to another, as it is is sort of like a thing that goes on a somewhat longer trip. And I had specified a train or a bus, and I wanted to figure out which of those things we're doing here. We have a couple of people. Because as we have identified from talking about this, we have a couple of people who seem to be going on longer trips, and a couple of people who might be going on shorter trips, possibly as a prelude to a longer trip, or who have recently gone on shorter trips. So this is where I want to kind of reconcile that and figure out where we are and what we're doing initially. I'm happy with either. We could make this a so this could be. Because different things are associated with each type of conveyance. If you have a bus that's kind of like a Greyhound or whatever, then there are certain things and tropes that are involved with that. It's going to be it's one of those things where it can go for a certain period of time, but you're not locked in there for as long necessarily as you would be on a train ride, but then you have more things on a train that can happen. And you're going a very specific path and no turns or anything, but there are other tropes associated with that. And so I kind of wanted to find out kind of which of those we are doing. So what do we think? What would we like to have happen here?
I would say Isabel probably wouldn't be caught dead on a Greyhound.
I was literally just about to say, there is something truly hilarious about the idea of Izzy, as you've described her, Sarah, just like on a Greyhound bus. Like, why am I here? I mean, though, it is very trendy to kind of cosplay as,
a regular person.
A woman of the people.
Yeah. Going amongst the peasants.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, it could be.
Those
Yeah,
people are
my
great, by
brain
the
went
way.
to
I
Greyhound
love
and
those.
Amtrak, but it can be higher scale than that if we want it to be. But we'll have to see how this is. How do we feel about this?
I mean, my original idea was a city bus. I figured that Jason probably lives in the suburbs and was taking a bus to the city because the medical facilities there are better, and he's
Okay.
not in any kind of like immediate injury, you know, anything like that. So he's more than happy to take a bus. He's not going to call an ambulance or something like this. So I was thinking like public bus to a major city to, you know, go to the hospital there. I mean, I suppose, I mean, do we want to do like an Amtrak or a subway? Because I feel like doing a, because if we do like a not necessarily an Amtrak, but we do a commuter rail kind of situation, it also ties into like a subway. So we get those really cool, like going underground uh, kind of railway things while still being able to go overland. But I'm just kind of spitballing that as an idea.
The main thing I'm thinking is that I don't necessarily want to tie everyone to the same origin city, necessarily. We can do that if you folks would like, but I just want to make sure that it's that if folks want that to be more open, it can be. So what do we think?
There is something sort of there is like a mythos, a feeling of mythos kind of around the idea of like a commuter line. Though I guess that the same could be said of like a bus as well. But it does, I guess it does kind of play into whether or not we want to do a more like highbrow game, not even like class wise, but just like, I don't know, being on a train feels more epic, no matter what it is.
Plus, I kind of like the image of like these strangers on a train or, you know, going underground. And then you have like that moment where they're all looking out the window and they see like their reflection in the dark and then like all sorts of weird stuff. And then the lights, fluorescence flicker and then stuff happens. And, you know, I just, it's a really cool visual that kind of calls to mind, like, I don't know, movies like Dark City or Jacob's Ladder or The Crow, you know, that's kind of where my brain goes when I think about the setting. So I think, I mean, plus a commuter rail makes sense if you were traveling from another city, because you'd be trying to get to a destination that would then kind of take you, you know, people coming to there from other places. And it's generally cleaner than a Greyhound and less expensive. So for those of us who are not rolling in money, a commuter rail or train like that makes a little bit more sense. Plus, you get train stations, and those are always great for fun stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how would we feel about? Let me just sort of see here. How would we feel about if say Lila or Isabel are on these longer journeys, that it may be that you had stopped over in or near a city of some kind, and the idea being that somewhere at some point you're going to board from the outskirts of said city that's heading toward another part of the city. As part of your journey to possibly either switch conveyances or you're trying to get to a particular place that you've heard about. What do we think?
Works for me.
Yeah.
So like the so as I'm just trying to sort of rolling this through, if the station that if the station that Jason got on is outside the city and heads in, right? This means that you're in something kind of like a suburb type place, maybe a suburb of the city.
So
or
maybe like how
smaller city
I can only
outside that
speak
goes
from,
there.
Yeah, I can only speak from like my personal experience living in
Yeah.
New England. But like a commuter rail will be like start at suburb A, then go to suburb B, suburb C, somewhere suburb D, hit like Boston or New York, but there's two major stations in each city. So somebody who might be going to the airport who got off at a taxi might actually get on the same line as someone coming in from the suburb going from one place to the other. So I mean, it's even conceivable that they might be getting off a plane, going to the airport and taking the rail to a further part of the city. So that way the other people that were from the burbs or other, would have a reason to make contact with them on the same train.
Yeah, and I mean, some cities even have, the metro is integrated with the rail station, with integrated with the rail station, but also integrated with the airport.
That's exactly. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, those are possibilities too. Actually, I mean, you have the two different. You have combination metro and airports. You have combination metro and rail stations. You have combination metro and harbors if it's a place on a coast. Can you tell I've been playing a lot of City Skylines lately?
Yes.
I've tried it. I go completely insane. I cannot think in terms of I can't build an IKEA chair, let alone design a city. It's just not. I don't have it in me.
I had to use the mod that comes with the game to have infinite money in order for me to calm down enough to actually make it work for me. There's so many connection points one can create. So I like this idea. I like the idea that this is this is a train that has an extension out to somewhere, another nearby smaller city, that it just basically comes through, and you have to go through two different things. You're coming in from two different things. Could be a train, could be a plane, could be a boat, could be a monorail. But the idea being that at different points these folks are getting on, and my thought is Dawson is trying to get out. Probably.
Yeah. But that is fits super easily. I just lost my job. I might just be going, I don't know. I'm thinking very going upstate. I've been in NYC and I'm I need to get out of the city right the hell now.
Yeah. Maybe it's taking you to the last Greyhound station on the opposite side of the city or something. So you can then just
go somewhere else.
Switch conveyances as often as possible, become anonymous.
Basically Dawson connecting at one point as the other people are kind of coming in, and Dawson's going this way further, and we're all kind of going this way, but we're stopping here and they're going past that point. I don't know why I'm doing hand gestures to illustrate this. I just feel like by pantomime I can get my thoughts out.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Whatever you need to do. We don't have time to build a scale model, so this is we have these mitts, so we must use them. If we are fortunate enough to have access to mitts, we should make use of them.
Which also makes sense if Isabel is getting off a plane, from Ibiza or wherever. I don't know where rich people go. I've never been rich.
Ibiza, yeah.
I mean, any city mentioned in a David Bowie song, probably.
Yeah.
And if Lila lives outside of the city or even in the city already, based on I don't know where they would live, if they were in another suburb or another part of the state, or they're in some weird section of town already, again, it also makes sense for them to kind of meet at the same station, nexus, whatever, and then we're all, caught on the forbidden subway tunnel that closed in 1910 that no one ever talks about and is possessed by the spirit of the first conductor to ever crash a train there or something.
Things like that. I do
Just
want to
spitting out
ask.
hypotheticals.
Yeah. Actually, Lila, can you? For Lila, yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know who I'm addressing anymore. But Alyssa, can you tell us a little bit more about Lila's trip, maybe? I think I'd like some more details here.
I feel like she's probably come in from either another city elsewhere or possibly flown in from out of state or something like that.
Yeah. So it's possible that a couple, and this is easy enough logistically. It's like either Isabel and Lila come in from the same airport, or if we want to change it up, the train leaves the airport and stops at a combination train station that you then hop onto. It's simple. Yeah. That I think can work. Is this trip for? Can you tell me a little bit more about what the trip is for?
Yeah, she is reconnecting with an old friend.
Okay, is this a friend that we know from previous games, or is this a friend that has yet to have been revealed?
I don't know yet.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I just remembered something. Anyway.
Yes. Okay.
That's ominous.
Yeah.
That was a face, and that was
I can't say what it is yet.
Okay.
I'll say it when we go to break. After we go to break, because I don't want to conjure it up on the stream, because I don't want to apply pressure to anyone unnecessarily. I remembered something, and so I just want to. I will. This is one of those things we talk about amongst the players, but we don't necessarily put into the universe, because there are additional humans involved that are not present currently.
Yes.
That said, he said, twisting back and forth. In reality, you knew I was going to hit this log jam, didn't you?
Yeah.
You knew. Okay, yes, all right. Sorry, I just caught up. Anyway, I enjoy being cryptic on streams. Anyway, let's see. So I think we're good. I think we figured out this is in this city, whatever city it is, major city. It could be a. I will say, all will be revealed in time. All will be revealed in time, one way or the other. And the thing is, we actually haven't decided. The truth hasn't been decided yet, but it will be ultimately. So, but we have to leave it vague right now, so we can figure out if things will line up for the one thing I'm thinking of to be the truth, or for it to be another thing. That's really all it is. So that said. So we figured out this is a metro train that folks are getting on as a transfer point for some, as a, get to this other place for others. I think that just to be one thing, let's go ahead and nail this down just a little bit further. Are we, for those of us who are traveling through, so for Lila and Isabel, are you intending to stay in the city, like, for the night or something, or are you about to Or are you heading further beyond? Are you stopping in the city or not? Basically, I guess is the only question. Doesn't matter what the it can be either one. I just would like to know.
I think for Lila, probably yes. She is stopping in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Isabel too.
All right. Cool.
That could also play into like how big of a city it is. I mean, if it's like enough of a destination point for like, I don't know, if it's a place that might mean that the city is like a place that is worth staying a night in or two, or
Yeah. So that's also, I mean, that does play into it. Let's see. I think that let me talk about this a little bit longer, and then I'm going to start throwing out a couple things. Do I have the right of it for Dawson? Is Dawson basically, Dawson's plans are get away as far away as possible right now?
I think as we've been kind of talking about it, I think that it fits well into this path to be like, okay, Dawson's final destination is like to go home, like to her childhood home.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing came about with her like disseminating her father's estate, and so like that seems thematic.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So maybe so you're headed for like some it's regional travel, so you're not necessarily going to need the big train or the big plane. But you can
it's
get
like,
on like
maybe the suburbs of this.
Yeah. Okay. Now that works. For Jason, I'm presuming your location is that you're headed is very specific. I would assume you're heading to to see a particular therapist or a particular
he's going to an emergency room.
An emergency room. Okay.
That is usually the fastest way to get seen, because with modern health insurance and otherwise, trying to find a therapist immediately is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be his first time. Basically just getting on a bus and going to the hospital and saying, look, here's what's going on. I need to be admitted.
Okay. Do you have a particular, so can I assume you have a particular, your character, can I assume Jason has a particular hospital in mind that he wants to go to?
And not York, medical, big, metropolitan. I mean, it's whichever, the exact hospital destination doesn't really matter. I mean, it could be Arkham General for all I know.
Yeah.
It's more his goal is to not go to the local one.
Right.
Because he knows that because he's in a suburb, the odds of being recognized there or it getting back that he was being seen there are much higher.
Yeah.
So that he wants to go to one outside of the city, the town he's in.
Okay. Just basically it was I was just trying to figure out, it's like, have you as if you've been to this particular hospital before is all it really is the question.
Not this one. He's been to a few others, but not this one.
So do I have it right that you're headed to big, you're aiming for a big hospital, that you have, big enough that you have heard of it from outside your okay. All right, cool. Okay. So that's good. That gives us enough time for there to be a few stops, basically, between here and there, definitely. And all that. So that was that's what I was thinking. Okay, all right. I think we've got a decent hold of some things. I'm going to ask some more questions soon, but first I think we need to go to break. So we're going to do that. Do I have an interview queued up? I think I do. Yes, according to what I'm remembering, I think I do. So we're going to go ahead and go to break. There will be an interview playing, and then when we come back, we will bounce a few more things around, and dig into some things further that we've already talked about. We will see you folks shortly. Welcome to the break. I have Josh Simons with us here today to chat a little bit. Greetings. How's it going?
Hey, it's pretty good. I'm happy to be here.
Cool. Excellent. You do rather a lot in the RPG space, and I thought I would have you on to have a little chat about how you got into this and all the various stuffs that you're doing.
Yeah.
So I guess just for folks who may not be familiar, why don't we start by just telling us a little bit about yourself, just in general?
Yeah, of course. My name is Josh. You can find me on the internet at Joshua M. Simons everywhere. I got into tabletop gaming a few years back. I actually got into it after I took a History of Middle-earth class in college, which included a significant portion of the curriculum was wargaming, as we replayed through and reenacted every major battle in Middle-earth history. And so I went from wargaming, I was like, this is really cool, there's a lot of fun tactics in here. How do I do more of this? And there was someone who was in part of that class who was like, hey, do you want to come play D&D with me and some friends? And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I've heard of Dungeons and Dragons. Is it like wargaming? And I went to check it out. It was not like wargaming, except in like you're using the same figures and the same dice, but otherwise it's very different. But I fell in love. So I am one of those folks who, when I jump into something, I do it completely. And so between my first session of D&D and my second session of D&D, I had read like 3 whole books, the player's handbook, the DM's guide. I was like, I need to know everything about everything. And have not looked back since then. I've been doing this for a few years now, playing, DMing, GMing, various systems, a whole bunch of fun things. I started publishing. I've been publishing stuff on the DM's Guild for a little while, a couple years now. I've published with Mage Hand Press. Got some other projects that are in the works that I can't talk about yet. I started streaming actual plays and charity games especially. I do a lot of those. Charity is actually very important to me. I am on staff with Jasper's Game Day. If you're not familiar, Jasper's is a nonprofit organization that uses tabletop gaming to raise money for suicide awareness, which is something that is very important to me. Mental health being something that I have struggled with in the past and sometimes still do. I want to be sure that we're kind of using our hobby and our skills to do something good for folks who may be struggling. So that's a really high-level overview of who I am and what I do. The short version is I am online 24/7.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And yeah, kudos to you for doing all of that work. That's the sound of it is amazing. Just that the overview. I will have to say, I am still just flabbergasted at the fact that they have these Middle-earth history classes and things to offer. It's just because sort of back in the day, little secret, I'm old. So back in the day, while it wasn't unheard of for there to be Tolkien taught in classes, it's just sort of amazing how much of it there is, even interacting both with just Tolkien and then interacting with RPGs that you have happening in college courses and what have you. So it's very neat. It's very neat to hear that. Also, so it is interesting that you actually have a transition from wargaming into tabletop. Because that's kind of that strikes me as a tad old school.
It is remarkably old school for someone who has gotten into gaming in the last decade. It feels very old school, even though it's not. but it just happens to be the course that I took. And I think it gives me some unique insight into certain design elements that we see in a lot of tabletop gaming, because I'm often thinking about, okay, how does this balance out in the big picture in terms of like this army versus that army, and how much do I want to stack the odds in this favor or that favor given the circumstances? And so I approach a lot of my D&D design in a very similar method, which, for better or for worse, is perhaps something that is unique in this space, and maybe rings back towards some of the design choices made in earlier editions. I don't know about that, but it is certainly something that I think has given me a unique perspective when I get into writing stuff these days with folks who don't have wargaming as kind of their introduction.
Well, it is interesting because it kind of sounds like you have just sort of, I was going to say sort of a foot on both paths, but there are many paths. So
there are a lot of paths. It's true. It's true. I'd like to think that I'm pretty progressive in terms of my general game design thing, but I certainly think there's value in learning from what's been done in the past and pulling the good things out of that.
Excellent. Well, I did want to ask a little bit about some of the games that you've put out that you can talk about.
Absolutely.
And I see, let's see, you've got some stuff out for Mage Hand Press.
Yes.
I see now I'm looking at the one that pops up for me right here is Dragon Flu Pandemic.
Yeah, that was the big one that I released with them right at the start of the COVID-19 quarantine. We pretty much, it's a bit of a wild story. I don't know if we've got enough time to tell it, so I'll give you the overview. But I met the folks at Mage Hand Press at a convention shortly before everything kind of kicked off in terms of quarantine happening. And through that time, I'd been talking with the folks there at their team and had suggested, like, hey, I've got an idea for an adventure module that we could sell, but then donate the proceeds, all the profits, to a charity to kind of help folks through this difficult time when folks were out of work, right? This was very early, like everything was shut down. No one was going anywhere. So our thought was, hey, like all proceeds from this adventure, it's called Dragon Flu Pandemic, will go towards feeding America, food shelters, so that folks can put food on their table, even if they're not actively working. And so we got a small team together, but basically they were like, look, we don't have the resources right now. We're gearing up for a Kickstarter. So go, you have our blessing, have some resources, have all of our art assets, make the thing, do it. We've got your back. And so we did. And I spent a few weeks just like heads down every spare second I had, writing, editing, all this stuff, working with a phenomenal team. And it came out, I was very pleased with it. And we've raised a fair bit of money. I don't have the most up-to-date numbers as of right now, because it's been, a year and a half since we released it, but we raised a fair bit of money for food shelters, which was great. So that's the short version.
Oh no, that's awesome. That's great. You do a lot of work with charitable causes. Can you tell us a little bit about Jasper's Game Day?
Absolutely. So I kind of mentioned in my intro spiel that Jasper's uses tabletop gaming. Specifically, we put on like fundraising events. So before the pandemic, we did this like in conventions, like in-person conventions. We would sell tickets to tables. You could come play with celebrity GMs or come participate in like Adventures League stuff. And all proceeds from that would go towards local suicide hotline type of resource. Since the pandemic, we have turned that to online events. Every week or every year, we do a Jasper's Game Week event, which is a big week or sometimes a week plus a couple of days event where you can bid on seats with, some of the biggest names in tabletop gaming. And all the proceeds for all those charity games go towards suicide awareness resources. We help a number of suicide hotlines. We work with the American Association of Suicidology. There's a big network of resources like that to really just try to make a difference, not just kind of in our individual lives, but in everyone's lives. And I think a big part of what we do really is just talking about these topics that oftentimes in our society, it feels like it's taboo to say like, hey, I'm struggling right now, or things like that, where it just feels like we really have more work to do in that area to accept the fact that people struggle with mental health. And it's perfectly normal. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's important for us to support one another when we're dealing with those difficult times, because it's a normal part of life that sometimes you're going to have a bad day or a bad week or a bad month. And we as a society really need to support one another. And we as a community, right, of people who share these similar hobbies, these love of storytelling together, it's really important for us to have each other's back on that. So that's kind of the quick and dirty version.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's just awesome. Still, I cannot reiterate enough. It is awesome whenever someone actually is out here in the space and manages to care. I always appreciate that when that happens. It's very cool. It's very cool. So, if folks want to find you, where should they go?
Yeah, I am on pretty much every social media platform, all of the big ones, some of the small ones, pretty much everything but MySpace. I deleted that. At Joshua M. Simons. That's my name. You're welcome to search me up. I publish under that. Or the alternative is you could come and hang out on my Twitch channel. I usually stream 2 days a week. Sometimes I'll take like a week off for the holidays. Sometimes I'll stream more. It's a very loose schedule based around my day job, which some days is more forgiving than others, but you can find me on Twitch at Joshua Simons. There's no M in the middle there, but that's me.
Awesome. All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and kick things back over to my future self, whatever it is that he happens to be doing right now. Thanks again for coming and hanging out with us for a bit.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Have fun, future self.
Yes. You hear that? Fun. You're supposed to be having fun right now. Do that. Take care, folks. We will see you all of a sudden. Greetings, greetings. Thank you once again for hanging out. We have returned, and we shall now talk more about our characters, about these characters, and more stuff. What's been going on? I want to circle back before we get further into some unusual things. Let's get into individual unusual things. For our characters, and that is a little bit of the mechanical side of this game. I'm going to be going back around to folks individually to ask these questions. So everyone has a number of die pools in this game. One die pool they have is discipline. Everyone's discipline starts out set to 3. That's true for everyone. Everyone also has, associated with things that happen when things come up on Madness dice, they have fight or flight responses. You have 3 response boxes, which you divvy up between fight and flight. It's basically do you react to something, to things going chaotically? Do you react aggressively, or do you try to retreat, is basically kind of what we're looking at here. So how you respond to moments of extreme stress, when the strain of a situation is overwhelming. And this just sort of helps indicate which way you might go in those circumstances. So I'm going to start with, again, with Lila. What are your... And actually, you're probably just carrying over from previously, possibly, or you can take this opportunity to change them up if you like. Where are your fight or flight responses currently set?
They were last time 2 flee and 1 fight, but during the course of play, she finally had to actually fight, and now there are 2 fight and 1 flee.
Okay. On the Roll20 sheet, they call, for some reason they go fight and flee. Because I think they were doing something with just how they are. I'm actually very grateful this Roll20 sheet exists now, so that I don't have to mess around with macros as much as I used to. But yeah, they've got.
So Lila's not afraid to throw hands.
This is good. Okay, cool. So Ben, what are Jason's responses?
Pardon me, I gotta move him. Jason's are 1 in fight and 2 in flight. He is not a overly confrontational person, but he is, when pushed, he can shove back a little bit, but he definitely prefers to back away from a problem than fight it head on.
Yeah. And Olivia, what is Dawson set up for?
So I actually, as we talked about last time, I'm brand new to Don't Rest Your Head.
Sure.
So I don't need guidance so much as I need to know if this is a terrible decision. I'm considering putting all of my responses in fight.
That's an excellent decision.
Yeah.
We have seen it before.
Okay. So I know the rule book just scared me a little.
I mean,
it says something like you can put all 3 in one response to the other if you dare. And I was like, oh, am I going to just completely break this character?
No.
But
okay. It generally just means that you're less likely to succeed in doing
that's
one
fine
thing or the other. Yeah,
I love to fail.
Cool. Yeah, I'm cool with watching someone just rage out every time there's a problem.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I want her to be the person where she blacks out and suddenly it wakes up and there's something on fire and I want it to be like I don't know if I did that or not kind of person.
Okay.
So
I am now inspired. I am going to change all of mine to flight.
Yes. We're gonna be.
Man, I was gonna do that.
Oh.
I mean, you can.
I mean, yeah, there's no monopoly on
Everybody
this.
switches to all flight except for Dawson. Dawson is all three in fight. The rest
Listen,
of us just run for
Alpha campaign might just be us all dying real quick.
It could be. Who knows?
We don't know.
Yeah, all it really means is that so just as to remind folks who or let folks know who might be watching also, basically whenever madness dominates, which is basically you've the dice that you've rolled include madness dice, and those dice have probably more sixes than any of the other die pools that have been rolled, or the highest numbers essentially on them from than anything else. Then, and it's remember, successes are 1s, 2s, and 3s, so this doesn't involve success. It's just how things are flavored. If madness dominates, then you check off a response. And so after you've checked off your third response, if you would have to check off one more, then you snap. And that's when you gain a permanent die of madness. That you will always roll from that point on. And so that's kind of the thing, and then so that keeps going, and you descend further into the chaos and descend further into your madness talent possibly, and after that happens for the third time, you snap for the third time, then you're going to turn into a nightmare. And that's essentially how that works.
I am amending my statement and going back to 1 in fight and 2 in fight.
So if you have everything in fight, which is we've totally had that on characters before, what that means is you're probably going to react aggressively whenever madness dominates.
Mm-hmm.
So, and any fleeing that you do will probably be outside of madness dominating. So that's that one. And
fun.
yeah. No, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. But Sarah, what were you saying for Isabel? What do you want for responses?
Isabel has never met a problem that she likes, and all of her problems she wants to run away from. So I have all of mine in flee.
Excellent. That's good. There's balance.
Yeah.
Excellent. So mostly running away when madness dominates.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting. Cool. So, the next thing I want to ask about has to do with with your talents. Now, everyone has an exhaustion talent and a madness talent. The exhaustion talent lets the character be thoroughly exceptional at a particular thing you can already do. It says here, it's almost supernaturally, so you can climb seemingly impossible surfaces, run far and fast. But the thing is that what I would say is a good sort of the way I usually play it is that it's within human possibility, or seems to be. Looks like it could be within human possibility. It doesn't draw attention to the idea that something is wrong, right? If someone were to see you do it, necessarily. They just might think, wow, they're really good at that. Even if there is something supernatural going on with respect to it, it's still easy enough for people to convince themselves that what they're seeing is, it's just that. So, without further ado, we're going to go around one more time with this, or again with this. This isn't the last time. We're going to go around with folks again and find out what your exhaustion talent is. Alyssa, what is Lila's exhaustion talent?
Lila's exhaustion talent is hypnotic voice. So she's got that soothing customer service tone, she practiced it on all the Karens. It's the kind of thing that, people go, oh, you could read the phone book. And I would listen all night.
Excellent. Yeah, that mellifluousness. Excellent. So Ben, what is Jason's exhaustion talent?
Jason is a confidant. People want to tell him what's wrong. People open up to him.
Okay. Now that works.
His exhaustion talent that's within human possibility is he feels like a walking safe space for people to talk about whatever's bothering them.
Probably at the most inopportune times for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually.
Yes. I'm just making a note here.
Now you seem really angry. What's wrong? Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. Something. So for something, a reminder I like to give folks, especially when it's a power that is more passive like that. Please tell me when you are intending to use it. Please remind me when you're intending to use it. So yeah, that's the because I might forget otherwise. So yeah, just yeah. And this goes for all talents basically. I might forget otherwise whilst we're talking about various things. So just let me know when you're using the thing, because then that way I will know. Let us now head over again to Olivia. What is Dawson's exhaustion talent?
I mentioned it a little bit when talking about what's been keeping me awake is I think she gets more intelligent when she's tired, and can do that like calculator brain thing that you see like savants do.
Yes, good. Is it like that thing where, I realize it doesn't actually look like this necessarily, but I was more of imagining that meme where things slow down and you see the equations type thing. Yeah. The beautiful mind.
She makes
thing.
that face too, the like, huh?
I love it. Yes.
Well, we're walking around with a character with resting house face.
Yeah.
Nice. And Sarah, what is Isabel's exhaustion talent?
Hang on. So I called this I know a guy. And because she is so well connected that has spilled over to when she is when it's an exhaustion talent, that she in a situation where she needs to use the exhaustion talent, she always knows a person who can help with whatever the situation is that's going on.
Okay. Now, one thing I am just going to mention ahead of time is that if at some point you should happen to get into the Mad City, things are going to get weird with that.
Yep.
Just want to make sure I'm fine with you using it. I just want to make sure you're prepared.
Figured and A-okay.
Okay.
I know a guy. Have you met our Lord and Savior Cthulhu? Like, yeah. Oh yeah, we went to middle school together.
Yeah, I helped him out in reading once.
Yeah.
For some reason, you show.
Oh my God, Haster! It's been forever.
Yeah.
I love the new yellow.
Yeah.
For some reason, when people look through the section of the yearbook that has the class photos, they can't seem to remember what they've seen. We're not sure why. Excellent. So good. So the other talent that folks have is the madness talent. Which a way of sort of describing the madness talent. This is the stuff of kind of supernatural fiction. These are very strange abilities. A madness talent lets the character do something that you can't normally do, something that's normally outside the realm of human possibility. Like, you know, they say in the book here, they give examples like flying without the aid of any device, reading minds, compelling others to tell the truth, moving objects with telekinesis. All kinds of things can be a madness talent. It doesn't even necessarily have to look like a superpower. It can be an item you have always for some reason. That when you're well rested, you can never find. Or something that it can be. Some folks have had like a companion of some kind that's or a person or an animal that's their madness talent. Some people, they've had alternate versions of themselves that appear. We've had so like it can be any number of things. It can be a theme. The thing about it is that it's by and large, it doesn't absolutely have to be. We can set levels for these things, but it's kind of on a lot of these are kind of on a slider where things can be like a little weird or very weird or really, really incredibly weird. Sort of depending on how much you're leaning into it, what you're doing with it, what sort of application you're doing. So that's kind of sort of the realm of it. So, remarkable abilities, superpowers, whatever we want to call them. So we're going to go around again, and I'm going to ask, Lila, what is your madness talent?
His madness talent is vibrokinesis. And she has used this in a lot of ways, but mostly controlling sonic vibrations. Because there's a theme.
Yes.
The Black Canary vibes. Love it.
Yes. Did that song ever go out on the radio, by the way? Did we ever have that happen? I am trying to remember if we had that happen.
Like,
did you ever release that song?
Like in character?
Did your character ever really... Let me revise. Did your character ever release that song in the universe of the game?
That is an excellent question. She definitely sang it in the Mad City. I don't know whether or not she has published it elsewhere.
Okay. Is there a link we should be dropping right now to anything, or is this something you want to make public of something that
Not
that
yet,
you've been
but
working
I'm gonna
on?
try to have it ready next week.
Oh my God!
Next time we play.
So this is among Alyssa's many talents. Also for folks who may not realize, she also writes songs. So this is a thing that may appear. But,
so cool.
Yeah. Cool, awesome. It was sort of a remarkable thing for anyone who wants to see. No, screw it. I'm going to pull this other thing up real quick because I can. Because I'm just remembering that we have this. There is the intro for our for the campaign of Dark Matter, that Alyssa ran on this channel, is something that she wrote and recorded for us. I was amazed to suddenly I was like, wait, what? We have a theme song? Okay. So that was incredibly cool. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just going to put a link to that in the chat, to that one particular video. This is now one of those moments when I'm going to click on a video and try my damnedest to mute the video before everyone hears it. I may not be successful, stand by. Let me, wait a minute. I know how to fix that. One moment, please. Jim suddenly remembers that he has control over what audio goes out through OBS. Yeah, let me go ahead and find that one again. There it is. Okay. There it is. There it is for anyone who wishes to listen to it. Anyway, back to where my brain was a moment ago. Let us continue asking folks about their madness talents. So for Ben, what is Jason's madness talent?
Jason's is the greatest story never told. If it were a sliding scale, a beginning would be Isabel walked into the club, all eyes on her. They couldn't look away even if they wanted to. Not that she minded. The door person was waiting for her, and she gave him a smile, and he let her through. Just narrating a quick bit of the scene and changing what the reality of it is. Like if we needed to get into a building, the door is unlocked, or if we needed to have something there that isn't there, now it's there. Just a quick little narrative. Going full bore madness is the sky was rent asunder and the voices screamed through voices and throats that were unable to articulate sound, and the pale horse rode through, and basically these biblical apocalyptic things that could rewrite reality and destroy everything, really.
Okay.
Basically, I took inspiration from some of the stuff from the Don't Lose Your Mind book, and using the base as something small and the maximum as like rewriting reality on a larger scale.
Cool.
But would probably drive him completely insane after using that once.
It's possible. Who knows? Let me. There's a couple of things I just want to mention with, especially with powers like this, is to just as far as certain things, it's a good idea to remind folks if you've got powers that may seem to affect, as this might, other characters' actions. I'd like folks to check in before doing that.
Yeah.
So for things, because I want to make sure if everyone's comfortable. And so are we generally just for me to check in now? Are we okay? Do we feel okay with this power? Do we feel like we need any tweaks or anything? Is there anything anyone needs to?
I think if a player character is going to be involved, just a quick like out of character, like, hey, I'm gonna
exactly.
Can I use your character to do this thing?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I didn't want to speak for anyone's character. But if like one of the characters was trying to do something, using it to augment that after I get their okay, or just changing something to make things a little bit different with a scene. Not necessarily trying to assert Jim's narrative control, but having a little bit of play with it.
I don't know if what I do is called so much narrative control. It's more I don't know, narrative car wreck of some kind. But so yeah, that's cool. As long as that's kind of just sort of kept in mind. I think that it sounds really cool. Let me see. There was something else I wanted to ask about it. But oh yeah, right now, and this is so something that folks. This is actually something that in the there's one of the supplements for this game. Is a book called Don't Lose Your Mind, that we just referred to. And in it, they kind of make it. It's got a lot of very good examples in it, but of different potential madness talents. But something that they show in there is the idea that your madness talent can give folks an idea, possibly, of the kind of nightmare you might eventually turn into. And so that it can be tied into that through the way that you narrate it as a sort of because that's the thing. The more you use it, the the more likely that is to happen.
Very well aware.
So that's a thing. It's kind of because it's like power, but at a cost potentially. Which is one of the things I love the downward spiral in this game so much, both for madness and exhaustion. Because, you use your exhaustion talents too much, you build up more and more exhaustion points and more exhaustion dice until you just crash. And then all the nightmares can find you.
The idea kind of actually came up from a nightmare, where the lower level versions of it are him frantically scribbling in a notebook. And then if he goes full on Super Saiyan, he just starts ripping words into the fabric of reality with his hands, just spelling things out and causing tears to come out as he's writing. And
do we see words form when things like this happen?
So when he's using the notebook,
nice.
No, he's narrating it while he's writing, but when it's actually like he goes full on apocalyptic, you see the words forming like on graffiti on the wall or written in the sky in stars, or just these massive displays of where he's exerting his narrative control because he's never been able to create a written work that has affected the world like he can when he's insane. The world will finally take notice of his art.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so now for over to Olivia for what is Dawson's madness talent?
You just mentioned Don't Lose Your Mind, and I just wanted to special shout out to whoever wrote the cabbie madness talent for Don't Lose Your Mind. It was so cool that I almost threw away everything I had and was like, nope, just kidding, this is mine instead, because it's so fun. Dawson can do a little bit of time dilation. So tapping into the weirdness of that already, exists in the Mad City of like time doesn't work quite right. And so I think at lower levels, it mostly affects like her own perception of time, a la like you guys know, like in the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmeses, where he like figures out exactly what he's gonna do before he does it.
Yep.
That sort of thing. Or like if she's hurt, she can like rush through that perception of pain and like move past it. And then I think at larger levels, she can actually affect how like other people or like physical objects are affected by time.
This is going to be very interesting. I cannot wait to see the first time you use this power in front of Lila, for reasons.
Oh, good.
Looking forward to that.
I really want to go back and watch the old streams, but I like don't want anything to be spoiled.
I've restrained the urge myself multiple times.
It's feel free if you want to, but I know it's let's just say there'll be something might look a little familiar is all I'm saying. I'm just making a note. There we go. Okay. So let us now head over to Sara. What is Isabel's madness talent?
I've called it Mirror Mirror, and so she can temporarily create another image of herself.
Okay. Interesting.
And so at kind of lower levels, it's just like she can create a static image of herself and 6 feet across the room kind of is like another Isabel pops up like, hey, what's up? But at higher levels, she can actually control that image's actions, and it can interact with the world. So she could project an image inside a building and like unlock the door or anything like that. So, but she has to be able to see the image to control it, just to put a little bit of a limits on it.
Yeah. Goodness knows what would happen if it moves out of sight.
Yeah.
I have so many things happening in my brain right now.
I mean, one potentially horrifying use of that I can immediately think of is if those images and those reflections are things that Isabel wants her to be. Like, she sees in the reflection an idealized version of what she wants to be like, or a version of themselves, and then all of a sudden it comes to life and we have, like, I don't know, Isabel, warrior demon of the whatever, I don't know.
Oh, I see. I went to a prestige scenario immediately. How do you know which is Izzy is in the image?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it can be hard to tell. There are several connections here that I think could be very interesting. I'm actually curious. Can you make the mirror Isabel? Does it always look exactly like you, or are there differences? Does it? Yeah.
The difference is that the mirror Isabel always looks more perfect than the real Isabel. Like, eyeliner's just a little bit more even, hair's curled a little bit, better.
Yes.
That she doesn't have some, she doesn't have some dirt on her, or anything like that. So, but it's always just a little bit more perfect than actual Isabel.
Yes. Good. Excellent. Also, I'm very excited for this in line of what had just happened to Jason, and the conversation that he had with his mirror self. So this is going to be very interesting. I'm seeing some interesting link ups of things here. This is going to be very interesting. I think this is going to be very cool. Okay, good. Excellent. So that's those are the madness talents. I shall not linger on this for too much longer. Whilst demonic sugar plums dance around my head. So that's largely the mechanical side of things. Anytime you use a madness talent, you'll let me know, and I will tell you how many madness dice you need to roll to be able to get the effect you're looking for. It's 1 to 6. The maximum you can use is 6. If you're not using your madness talent and you're rolling, you can still always add 1 to 6 madness to your roll if you want, even without going anywhere near your madness talent. It's up to you. Whenever you use your exhaustion talent, it's going to be either a major or a minor use that you let me know. The main thing being that a minor use means you're... I'm actually going to look this back up again to make sure I get this right. So it's there. You get more dice one way, or you get more possible successes. But there's a difference between minor and major use, essentially, is what's going on. I think it's like you get additional possible successes versus additional assured successes. I think that's kind of what it is. But I will go back and refresh my memory on that between now and when we actually do it. But the idea is you always have to have at least one exhaustion to use an exhaustion talent, and then the more you use them, the more there's the potential for exhaustion dominating and for you to get another exhaustion die. And once you go past 6 exhaustion dice, you crash, which we've already talked about a little bit. It's like ringing the dinner bell for all the nightmares. So, this is why you must not rest your head. now that we've gone through that, I can ask a couple more questions of the world buildy nature. To sort of, and this once again we're just sort of discussing generally. I think we've. Yeah, I think we've. I had a couple of follow-up questions. I think we've addressed most of this. Most of the follow-up questions that I had involving your individual, what you left behind and what you'll find at your destination, or what you imagine you'll find at your destination. So we kind of have already gotten into that. So I don't think I need to ask those. I think I do. Here's a question that I have ripped from a delightful game called Urban Shadows, that I'm thinking of going ahead and asking everyone real quick, just to see if there's any additional information you would like to provide me with. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to get back to just a few more things of general world building. Which, these are kind of also... Yeah. These are kind of also round-robin questions, most of these. So, the question that I have stolen from Urban Shadows is, what do you worry might happen? I think some of us have already kind of addressed this, but I'm just going to go and check in with folks. And I'm not even going to go around. I'm just going to say, is there anything anyone would like to add to what they've said already about what they are worried might happen, what their character is worried about?
I guess it depends on what this new city is like, because if it's as surrealistic and interesting as I think it is, I know he's not going to want to go back. He's going to like it here, and I think that's something he'd be afraid of, is actually having to go back to the normal sleeping city as opposed to the mad city. Yeah. Well, that I can work with that. A place where everything I want can actually happen. Yeah.
Is there anything anyone else is a little concerned about, or they're fearing might be the case for anything for their characters feel like might be the case for them, or that they want to try to avoid?
I think that much like Dawson's path being two-pronged, I think that there's this kind of double fear of am I going to go mad like everyone thinks my dad did, or am I going to not and just be average? If I don't, does that mean that I'm not enough like him?
Yeah, it is double pronged, definitely. Yeah. Okay. That's definitely a double-edged thing.
Yeah, and I swear I genuinely do swear this is not this is a character that's not me.
I think in the opposite of Ben's character, Isabel's once she's in the Mad City, Isabel would worry about not being able to get back.
Oh yeah. Okay.
To her own life and her friends, and even if it's kind of a disaster and falling apart in a way that she can't control, but it's her life, then she would like to go back to it, and she's kind of afraid that she can't get out.
Okay. Yeah.
Lila's pretty confident about being able to navigate the city herself at this point. I think Lila is or will be worried about someone that she's with potentially becoming a nightmare, because she's watched some people have some kind of close calls. And again, she feels that responsibility as, the veteran.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So, a couple more things that I just want to dive into real quick. Let's see. One of these questions appears to have been answered, but I just want to double check. Did we want to establish any connections, anyone having known each other before? We don't have to. It looks like we're probably all going to be strangers, but I just want to check to see if that is indeed the case or if someone wants to throw something in. Sounds as though we are reaching a panel of...
What kind of Lila is a songwriter, right?
Yeah.
What kind of songs does she write? Do I follow her on Twitter? Is what I'm asking.
You can if you want to. Her style is kind of like folk rock, kind of. I would say. She's also, recorded some like intro themes for other like YouTubers and stuff. So she probably has a little bit of a following at this point. Yeah, up to you. I'm open to it.
How much like Paris Hilton is Isabel, and have they appeared in magazines and tabloids?
She's not like Paris Hilton in terms of that level of fame. Like she's just your local rich kid.
Okay. I didn't know if we were gonna have a I saw you on a TMZ moment.
I saw you in Us Weekly kind of a thing.
Yeah.
No, she's
okay.
Not been.
Okay. All right. No, that works out. That works out just fine. Cool.
I actually have a quick question. How old are the characters? Like, I know we've got some like college age, and because my character was going to be like mid 30s, early 30s. I didn't know if that would make me the oldest one of the bunch or not.
Dawson's like late 20s, early 30s. So
okay.
I didn't really put a specific age down, but yeah.
Lila's probably also 30 something.
Isabel's a young kid.
Yeah.
That's so cute. She's just like, oh my god, these ancient like
like, oh my god, why are you not in a nursing home?
Yeah.
Like,
Have you met our parents?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I guess then my last sort of questions I want to ask are just sort of centered around if anyone has gotten any. Are there any particular things they've gotten odd glimpses of lately? If there are any sort of strange things that you've seen or strange things that you've heard about, weird urban legends or anything like that that you'd like to talk about?
In game or out of game?
In the game. No. Okay. This is strictly in the fictional reality of the game.
Okay. Sorry, so no cryptic controversies. I think at this point, Jason is so used to his insomnia, that he now accepts that he's going to see things differently. Like that thing where you've been up for a couple days and then everything becomes a vapor trail when you see it, walk by, or you start thinking you see things moving. That's very common for normal people that don't sleep long enough. But in his case, it's extended to in this example, the mirror, he'll have full-born hallucinations where he's talking to himself in the mirror, or he might thinks he sees someone off, walking towards him from down the street, and there's nobody really there. He gets about, on a good week, he'll get 6 hours of sleep at most. And that's been consistent for the last few years. He's kind of already teetering on the edge even before this happens.
Yeah. So,
I've been trying to prove that there's a city on top of our current city with math. But I think other than that, it's like she's like too busy with that to notice like other weird shit happening.
No, that's still good to know, though.
Yeah. I also like I sort of there is the potential in that story, and I did it on purpose, that her father was also awake, capital A.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like make it explicit, and I feel like that can come up in gameplay, or you can decide, or like I don't think I should know if he was, or if he just is real smart.
What is he supposed to have died of? Do we know? Yeah.
That's the bit. That's the big. Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Itis.
No, I mean, is it a mystery in game as well, or are we just sort of?
Yeah.
Or are you saying? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Did he like disappear, or is he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. No, that's just good to know. This is good to know.
I was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think he's like in quote unquote the real world, he has been declared dead, but I think it's like a...
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Something that also I'll need you to let me know at some point between now and next time is if you have a name for your father.
Oh, it's Jonathan.
Jonathan. Okay. Let me go ahead. And write that down. Jonathan Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Excellent. I know what weird things Lila has seen already. I was there.
Seen a lot of weird things.
Anything recent anything more recent that you'd like to declare, or?
She's looking. I don't know, other than that advertisement in her mail that was a little bit odd and reminded her of all the weird things she's seen. I don't know, but just because she's paranoid doesn't mean there isn't weird stuff waiting to eat her brain when she falls asleep.
I don't know. What was that? Was it Mad City Furniture? Was that what it was?
Mad City Exteriors, windows, doors, siding.
Right. Those things that are perfectly fine and normal.
Absolutely.
Yes. Is anything? I feel like we're at the airport. Do you have any nightmares to declare? Is there anything? Is there anything, Isabel, you'd like to declare for Isabel having noticed or recently?
Ever since she got back from Europe, she's like, doors and windows just don't look square to her anymore. Like they're just kind of, shifted to there's not right angles at the corners. She's just attributed it to just a serious case of jet lag.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent. After returning from Europe. Excellent. Good, good. I've just been reminded in chat that Madison, Wisconsin is one of its nicknames is the Mad City. This is not that one. This is for anyone who might be concerned. This is a completely different Mad City. But now I do some. But now I find suddenly I want to visit Madison, Wisconsin. Quite suddenly.
A quick note for our fans in Madison. I apologize in advance. You're not really missing much, not having been to Madison, Wisconsin. I know, shots fired.
Oh dear. One never knows. One never knows. I'm sure there's something there. Perhaps it's entirely possible that I just need to go there while sleep deprived. Anyway.
We're on the way to Gen Con.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, I think that's about everything that I had on my list. So I think we may be good. Was there anything that we have been talking about that anyone needs to say anything else about at this point or would like to? That we're good? Or do we think we're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited.
Me too. I think this is going to be very interesting. Now having this fuel for that which is to come, I am very excited to make use of it and see what happens. So yeah, it's a funny thing that we haven't really something that I haven't developed yet for my version of the Mad City is as if there's any sort of metro there. Like I'm sure there must be some kind of underground metro. Perhaps.
I mean, it has cabs.
Yeah, it has cabs. There might be some sort of transportation that's trying to happen now. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out.
There's someone throwing some cars around at one point.
I mean, there were people throwing cars around. This is true.
Not the most effective way to travel, though.
Maybe one of the reasons why someone has been thinking, public transportation might be a good idea, so that these nightmares can get to where they work every day. So anyway, I think we're good. So what we will be doing is most likely next week is which I think is Halloween. Is next week Halloween? Next week is Halloween.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So we shall be entering all of this on Halloween, apparently. So I'm very much looking forward to it. So let's go ahead and go around and do our outros. You can feel free to tell folks where they can find you. And any other final thoughts you'd like to throw in about this, things you're looking forward to, etc. And we're going to go in reverse order. So we are going to start with Sara.
Hi, I'm Sara. I am going to be playing Isabel. You can find me on Twitter at Sara of Swords. I'm also one of the event organizers for Play Cancer Away. We're heading into our final week and final 2 games. And we have raised almost $2,000 for Stand Up to Cancer this year. So if you want to donate to our Tiltify campaign, It is pinned in our Twitter, which Jim has linked. We are at Play Cancer Away. We have a Monster Care Squad one-shot coming up tomorrow, and on Friday we have our final game for the Queen. So join us for that.
Excellent. Very good. And now we are going to head over to Olivia.
Hi. Sorry. My brain just stopped working for a second there. I am Olivia. You can find me on Twitter at CryOutOlivia. You can also find me over on Material Components, an actual play podcast, which can be found wherever podcasts are found. Come hang out.
Yay! Excellent. Very much looking forward to see how Dawson integrates into all of this. This is going to be very cool. And now over to Ben.
Hello, my name is Ben. Going by Reverend Benjamin Powers all over the internet. Rev Ben Powers on Twitter. I do most of my streaming with the McStabber Studios group, but this is the first time I've gotten to play with these guys. Very excited. I usually play video games online. I run a lot of RPGs, and other than that, I think most of it's spent with existential angst. So this is a nice change of pace.
Ah, yes, my old friend existential angst. I know it well. Very cool. Very glad to have you. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how things unfurl here. And finally, we will go over to Alyssa.
Hey, my name is Alyssa. You can find me on the internet at Shawl Tales, where I make things like this. This one's almost done now. And this is the only game I have going on stream at the moment, so you can find me here next time.
Yay! Awesome. I'm very excited to see how this how this run of Lila goes through the Mad City. Just because, yeah, it's always interesting to have a mix of people who have been there and people who haven't been there. So I'm very much looking forward to that and things to come. There are things to come. There are possible surprises to come. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I can't wait. So, who am I? Excellent question. And one that I never stop asking myself. But this evening, I'm Jim Ryan. You can find me at OtherDoc on both Twitch and Twitter. My website is jimyesthatjim.com, where you can find my Geek Observation podcast and links to my various other podcasts, audio dramas, writings, and such. I have links down below to my website, Twitter, YouTube channel, and various other things. Tomorrow night we should be getting back to our game of Cult Divinity Lost, run by Hollow. Excellent GM, and it's been a hell of a ride, and we're starting to circle the mysteries that we've been looking into, and that have also been slowly peeling back the layers of reality, and we've been seeing terrifying things. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of them as we can. My character isn't, but I certainly am. So very much looking forward to that. This is one half of the Don't Rest Your Head sort of campaign we have going on, because the other group is in what I'm right now working titles. I'm calling this the Alpha story and the other story the Omega story. I don't know if I'm going to end up sticking with that, or if I'm going to sort of look for common themes here. It's usually where we get the titles from for the different campaigns, and so we're going to be kind of leaning into that. So we'll see. But what I'm currently calling the Omega Group is going to be showing up on Friday. We're going to be having another Session 0 this Friday for Don't Rest Your Head. For the other group, that's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern. So it's a little earlier in the day. And so they're going to be coming in, and we're going to be doing this all over again, but with a different set of folks. I think that group's actually going to be slightly more connected initially, as far as people who know each other. So that's going to be an interesting contrast. So we're gonna, as far as the characters who know each other, at least. So very much looking forward to that happening. So that's going to be very cool. That's going to be very cool. So let's see. That's most of what's going on, and we have Dune's going to be starting up again in a few weeks, and on Wednesdays when that happens. So when we hit the end card, we're going to send a raid over to somebody. I have not had an opportunity to go in and stare at all the various things to see what folks are up to yet. So I'm just going to kind of do that after we hit the end card, and I'll sort of see where we are and what they're doing, and we'll go say hi to somebody. Feel free to hang on if you're so inclined and say hi to them with us. That again will be when we hit the end card. In the meantime, folks, thank you all very much for watching. Take care, and we will catch you next time. Farewell.